How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome. We're just so lucky, so fortunate to all be here together today to hear from Elizabeth Warren. I'm Molly Kelly, and I'm all in for Elizabeth Warren. I'm supporting Elizabeth Warren because she's running for president to build an America that works for everyone, not just for a few. She knows what working families face today and the struggles that they have because she's been there. She knows also that our biggest challenge today is economic injustice, and she's going to change that. We need a presidential candidate who's ready to take on that moment and that challenge and defeat Donald Trump, and that's Elizabeth Warren. You know, Elizabeth is, she's inspiring people, not just here across New Hampshire, but across our whole country, because people know that her comprehensive plans are there to ensure that the government works for us, for everyone. And she's going to make sure that we do that. And people know that she doesn't just have plans. She knows how to get the job done because she's done it, and we know that. I am personally inspired by Elizabeth Warren. And I'm inspired because she sees what is possible. She imagines what's possible, and then she puts a plan together. She fights for it, and she gets it done. Elizabeth Warren is not afraid to dream big and to work hard, and we know that. So imagine a country where our young people, when they complete their higher education, are not going to be drowning in debt. And imagine an America that is the leader to address climate change as the crisis it is today, and to put an end to environmental injustice. And imagine a country where health care becomes a human right, finally. And where we value so each child, that their well-being and their education is a priority for us, and that no child ever has to be and do a shooter drill again in a school. You know, Elizabeth often says, we come together to imagine what is possible because that reality is right here before us and we need to grab it. She is ready. She is ready to take on Donald Trump because she is a strong, tough, caring, and smart woman who can take on his divisive and dangerous agenda, and she will win. And when she does, she will always put the people first. So I hope that all of you will join me in voting for Elizabeth Warren a week from today on primary day here in New Hampshire, and that you will join me in dreaming big, working hard, and above all, do not ever stop persisting because we can get there. Thank you so much. Now, I have a job to do, and that many of you, I believe, have already put a ticket in so that you would have an opportunity to be chosen to ask a question. Is there anyone here who has not had the opportunity to put a ticket in this little bucket here? Okay, I think we're all set. Then I'm going to draw 5 different tickets, And when I say your number, if it's you, put your hand up really high and say, persist. And then walk over here under the exit sign. 2 more. Okay, we've got it. Okay, see if I can do this. Vanessa, would you help me pick out these tickets, please? I only have 2 hands. Thank you. If you pick them out, shuffle them up, pick them up. Let me read them here. Okay. All right. So the first one we've got is 0524702. We got to persist. Okay, try again. 0524710. Don't be nervous. Don't be shy. We've got one. Okay, so if you just head over there by that exit sign, that'd be great. Okay, 0524725. Nobody? We got it? All right. Just head right over here. Thank you. All right. I'm just going to say the last 3 numbers here. 696. 696. We got it? Yay. Great. We got one more. Should have had you read them. 679. 679. Your question's important. Raise your hand. Okay, go ahead, one more. Okay, 717. Did I hear it persist? Yay! Okay, and I think that's it. Just head over there. If we got 5, one more. See, I told you I need you. Okay, 705. Yay! Thank you. Okay, and at the end of the event, after you've had this wonderful opportunity to hear from Elizabeth Warren, she is going to be here to get selfies for anyone who would like them. So let's have a great day. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Hi. Hi. My name is Amanda. I am the Keene organizer for Elizabeth. Thank you all for being here. Great. So a couple things off the top. As mentioned, Elizabeth will be staying to do selfies with everybody. We are going to line up here at the very end. Hold your horses. If you have a baby or a child with you, please come to the front. It's kind of like pre-boarding. We know it can be hard to be here with a little kid, so we want to make sure that you get in and out as quickly as possible. Well, I am so excited to have everybody here Tuesday morning, a week from the election. When we get to the end of the program, volunteers are going to help everybody line up, and we'll take some selfies. So thanks again for being here. We are here, of course, as we always are, to build community with each other. So in that spirit, if you want to turn to somebody next to you, maybe somebody you've never met before, and introduce yourself and tell us why you're in this fight. Okay. Thank you, everybody. A lot of Warren Democrats in the room, so I'm sure you just made a new friend. It has been the honor of my life to organize for Elizabeth. I'm so lucky to be here in Keene with all of you. So a couple months ago, we were asked to write a letter to Elizabeth, and I wrote something about the volunteers that I've met here. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. So for my volunteer Deb, a retired art teacher, you are the hope for a brighter future for her former students. For my volunteer Susan, your lived experience, particularly that as a mother, makes you uniquely suited for the hardest job in the world. For my volunteer Hillary, an adjunct professor, you are the hope and the knowledge that she is not just read on a balance sheet because of her student loan debt. So we are here to make Elizabeth proud on Election Day. I know that Deb, Sue, Hillary, and everybody else who has built our grassroots campaign in Keene is going to do that, but we can't do it without you. We need your help in this. We need you in this fight from next Tuesday to November. It's not going to be easy. We all need to get in this fight. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Elizabeth is going to leave it all on the field, and we have to do the same. So at the end of this, I hope that you will choose hope over fear. You will be courageous and not cynical. You will find somebody with a clipboard, and you will sign up to help us get out the vote next Tuesday. Thank you.
Just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here in Keene today to support Elizabeth. My name is Courtney. Woo! I'm a junior over at Keene State College, and I'm just going to kind of tell you why I'm in this fight with Elizabeth. I grew up in a low-income household that felt every economic crisis that hit America. We always powered through, but it was never easy. Growing up, my mom always had minimum wage jobs or food service jobs. And she worked so much, and I could never understand why someone who works so much has to turn to her children and tell them they might have to move out of their childhood home or stay at grandma's because the heat and electricity is getting shut off, or so many other things that no parent should ever have to tell their young children. As I become an adult myself, I finally am starting to understand why all of that happened. As I said before, I'm a junior in college. I am 3 years in and I haven't paid a dime out of my pocket for my education, but that by no means makes it free. Some scholarships, but mostly loans, are paying for my education, and when I graduate, a huge chunk of my income will have to go into paying those off. Now, I understand that I took out the loans, so I must pay them back, but no one should have to question their opportunity for a higher education because they are afraid of the cost. No one should have to question whether or not they can even apply because of financial issues. Everyone deserves the opportunity to have a college education if they believe that is what is best for them. America is losing out on too many great doctors, teachers, social workers, politicians, counselors. The list goes on because of how expensive college and or the cost of loans can be. I believe that Elizabeth Warren is in this fight not only for me, but with me, and everyone that has a story similar to mine and everyone outside and in between. She can help make this economy stronger and will help make it so if you are working hard, you get to live a life that reflects that as well. And please help me give a warm welcome to the woman herself, Elizabeth Warren.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living. Barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. You just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5.
Hello, Keene. Good to see you. And thank you, Courtney, for the warm introduction. And thank you for telling your story. It's an act of courage and it's important. It's how we make real change. Thank you, Courtney, everybody. I also want to thank Molly Kelly. She is the best partner anyone could have. Thank you, Molly. It's good to be back in Keene. I am here with family. I have brought my sweetie Bruce. Stand up, sweetheart. There we go. So, we're back from Iowa. Wow. But here's what we know. It's a tight three-way race at the top. We know that the three of us will be dividing up most of the delegates coming out of Iowa. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, but I know that this is the time when a lot of people around our country are starting to feel really worried and really discouraged. I mean, we had a bumpy start to the democratic process yesterday in Iowa. Tonight, Donald Trump gives State of the Union. And tomorrow, it appears that Republicans will continue to lock arms to protect an out-of-control president, yes, and will prove their loyalty to the person rather than to the Constitution of the United States. These are hard times for our country. The question is, so what are we going to do? You know, we can be discouraged, but you're here. And the way I see it is I look at where we are. We've done Iowa. We've got New Hampshire in just a week. Are we ready to do New Hampshire? And we've got 55 more states and territories all around this country that want their voices heard. This is democracy in action. And what that means is it is the moment for us. It's the moment right here in New Hampshire to dig down deep. It's the moment right here in New Hampshire to choose courage over fear. It is the moment right here in New Hampshire to choose the future we can build together. This is the moment to get out there and work harder than ever. Because you get it. Our democracy hangs in the balance. And that's the reason for more phone calls, more door knocks, talking to people in front of you in line at the grocery store, talking to the person pumping gas next to you. It's the reason to do the outreach. Because ultimately, what you do, coming to an event like this, is an act of optimism. It's an act that says we believe that if we get out there and we fight hard enough for it, we fight for the right reasons, we fight from the heart, that this is how we will save our democracy and save our country. I believe in that optimism. That's what we're going to do. And I'm glad you're here. I love you for being here. I love you too. So on that note, I thought what we do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I'm in this race. I'm going to try to do this in kind of tight form, and then I'm just going to take as many questions as we can. So you can talk about whatever is top of mind for you. So I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I am the baby. I have 3 much older brothers. I am what used to be referred to as a late in life baby. Some of you know what that means. My mother always just called me the surprise. My 3 older brothers, they're all retired now. They all live back in Oklahoma. They are collectively referred to, even to this day, as the boys. That is to distinguish them from the surprise. Now, when the boys and I were growing up out in Oklahoma, our daddy had a lot of different jobs. He sold paint, he sold fencing, he sold carpeting, he sold housewares. Ultimately, he ended up as a janitor. Our mom eventually worked a minimum wage job at Sears, answering phones. All 3 of my brothers went off and joined the military. It was a chance to serve and also be blunt. It was a path into America's middle class. Now me, I have known what I wanted to be since 2nd grade. I know some of you may laugh. Didn't decide until what, like 4th grade? 5th grade and the way back? Yeah. I have known what I wanted to be since 2nd grade. Never wavered from it. I wanted to be a public school teacher. Can we hear it for our public school teachers? Yes. Yes. And I want you to know I invested early. I used to line my dollies up and teach school. I had a reputation for being tough but fair. It's all I ever talked about growing up. I'm going to teach school. I'm going to be a school teacher. By the time I graduated from high school, my family didn't have the money for college application, much less to send me off to 4 years at university. So like a lot of Americans, I don't have a straight line story. I have a story with a lot of twists and turns. So here's how my story goes. I was a high school debater, and I got a scholarship to college. Woohoo! Let's hear it for the nerds. Oh, yeah. And then at 19, I fell in love, got married, and dropped out. Woohoo! Not to that guy. Yes, Bruce will be coming up in season 2. But dropped out. Now look, it's what I chose. Could be a good life, gonna be a good life. But I thought I'd given up on the dream. I thought it meant I would never be able to teach school. So we're living outside Houston, and that's when I found it. A commuter college that cost $50 a semester. And for a price I could pay for on a part-time waitressing job, I finished my 4-year diploma. I became a special education teacher. I have lived my dream job. Now, do we have some public school teachers in here? Oh, good. Oh, we got a bunch. We have any back here? Yeah. Fantastic. Bunches of them. Okay, so I'm going to need you to back me up on this. Teaching is not a job, it is a calling. I loved my babies. By this time we've moved to New Jersey, I had 4 to 6-year-olds in special education. And I loved those children. And I probably would still be doing that work today, but remember I said twists and turns to this story. By the end of my first year in teaching, I was visibly pregnant. And the principal did what principals did in those days. Wish me luck and hired someone else for the job. So, there I am. I'm at home. I got a little baby. I can't get a job. And I got to do something. So I will go to law school. Found a state law school, $450 a semester, and headed off, baby on hip, did 3 years of law school, graduated visibly pregnant. You will discover a pattern to these stories. Took the bar, passed the bar, and practiced law for 45 minutes. And then went back to my first love, teaching. I traded little ones for big ones, and I have spent pretty much my whole life as a teacher. Other big changes in my life at this time, husband number 1, hint, never good when you have to number your husbands. Husband number 1 and I parted ways, but I found Bruce and I've held on to him ever since. So I'm a lucky woman. So here I am, I'm teaching in law school, and I don't know, maybe it's because of how I grew up, but I'm in the money courses. Contract law, commercial law, secure transactions, payment systems, corporate finance, partnership finance, law of debtors and creditors, bankruptcy law, law and economics. If it's about money, I'm in. But there was always one central question that I worked on, and that is, what's happening to working families in America? Why is America's middle class being hollowed out? Why is it that people who work every bit as hard as my mom and dad worked 2 generations ago find the path today so much rockier and so much steeper? And for people of color, even rockier and even steeper. And the answer has to do with our government in Washington. It has to do with whose side the government is on. Think of it this way. We have a government that works great for giant drug companies. It's just not working so great for people who are trying to get a prescription filled. It's a government that works great for people who want to make a little money investing in private detention centers down at our border and private prisons in our criminal justice system, just not for the human beings whose lives are torn apart by those places. It is a government that works great for giant oil companies that want to drill everywhere, just not for the rest of us who see climate change bearing down upon us. And when you see a government that works great for those with money, works great for those who can hire an army of lobbyists and lawyers, and is not working great for everyone else, that is corruption, pure and simple, and we need to call it out for what it is. Corruption. It's about money, money, money in Washington. It's about campaign contributions. It's about lobbyists. It's about bought and paid for experts and PR firms and tilted think tanks. Money, money, money. And here's why it matters so much. Whatever issue is the issue that really gets you going, whether it's gun violence, whether it's reining in Wall Street, whether it's the cost of health care, whether it's climate change, whatever is the issue that you really feel passionately about, know this. If there is a decision to be made in Washington, it has been influenced by money. It has had exceptions created by money. It has been nudged by money. Money, money, money is driving decision-making in Washington. And if we want to fix this, we can't just nibble around the edges. We can't just say one little statute over here and a couple of regulations over there. No. If we want to beat back the influence of money, if we want our democracy to work again, it's going to take big structural change, and that's why I'm here. Big structural change. And I got a plan for that. So I've got the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. That's the good news. The bad news is we need the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. But understand, this is the heart of why I'm in this. I'm in this because I see a country where our government just keeps working better and better and better for an ever thinner slice at the top. And I see this amazing opportunity in 2020. Our chance to turn that around and make this government work for everyone else. That's why I'm here. Let's do some questions. Thank you. Let's do some questions. Maybe we can talk about some of those plans. Where are the questions? Where are they? Okay. Come on over.
Hi, Senator Warren. My name is Ben Berg, and I'm an 8th grade middle school student from Brattleboro, Vermont.
Woohoo! Nice to see you, Ben.
I was wondering what makes you a better candidate to take on President Trump than some of your counterparts, such as Senator Sanders or former Vice President Biden.
Okay, great question, Ben. Let me start with, I know how to fight and I know how to win. Actually, here's something to think about on that. I am the only person right now in this race, I think, who has beaten an incumbent Republican any time in the last 30 years. And you folks in New Hampshire understand that election better than almost anybody else in the country. You may remember that Scott Brown, remember that name? Yeah, Scott Brown down in Massachusetts at the time had a very high approval rating and was very telegenic, had a great story to tell. And let me just say, not like Donald Trump, right? People said to me, you know, somebody should take on Scott Brown. A lot of Democrats in Massachusetts didn't want to do it. They said you could take on a guy who had all of that going for him, or you could walk into a buzzsaw. Think about it. Which do you want to do? Massachusetts loves its moderate Republicans. And so people said to me, you should run, Elizabeth, you should run. You're going to lose, but you should run. Democrats, get a better sales pitch. I got into that race. I was down 19 points. Even on election day, there were people saying, I'm not sure which way this will go. I beat him by 7.5 points. And let me throw in one more, just because I always like to look at kind of how the world is shaping up. And there are people who've asked this. People who've asked, yeah, but can a woman win? That's what they were asking in 2012. And the answer was yes. But now, people ask again, can a woman win as president? I just want to be clear on this. The world has changed since 2016. When Donald Trump got sworn in, I was there for the inauguration. Does anyone remember what happened the next day? The largest protest rally in the history of the world. Yep. And let's be clear. We took back the House. We took back state houses in 2018 because of women candidates and because of women who got out and fought for those candidates. Well, it was women and what I like to think of as friends of women, also known as men. And thank you. But do understand this. Since Trump has been elected, women in competitive races, women have been outperforming men in competitive races. Can women win? You bet women win. But let me give you one more part to this, okay? That just kind of, let's clear out a little brush here, but here's what I think is the heart of it. The way I'm going to win is I'm going to unite our party. Because we have to have a united party. We can't have a repeat of 2016. We have to go into this as a united party. I try to treat everybody who is in this race with respect. I try to treat everybody who is in this race as having good ideas that they've brought to it. And by the way, I live those values. So my campaign, as it's grown, as we've stayed in it, you know that some people have dropped out of the race, and I'm really sorry. Some of them are really good people whose voices are now not in this race. Billionaires have managed to make it in, but other folks who have a lot of good things to say have not. But here's a part of what I've tried to do. I now have got Kamala people who are in my race, who are in my campaign. I've got Corey volunteers who are part of it. I've got Kirsten folks. I've got Beto folks. I've got Julian folks. Shoot, I've got Julian. Who, bless his heart, is out there working hard. But I think that's what we've got to do. We got to have a Democratic Party that welcomes and that says, you've got good ideas, I've got good ideas. Let's work on the things we can together. Let's build out from the... There we go. We're going to do this together. The second part about this is we're going to run on the issues that all Democrats can run on. We're going to run on the fundamental issues that we agree on. We see a government that's working great for rich folks. We're the Democrats. We're supposed to be out there for the working people, and that's what I'm going to do and keep fighting for. And here's the best part. We pull our party together on the issues we can run on, my anti-corruption bill, my 2-cent wealth tax, my expansion of Social Security, canceling student loan debt. These are things that are popular, not just among a huge majority of Democrats, they're popular among independents and Republicans. So it's not only how we're going to win the Democratic Party and pull it together, it's how we're going to pull in the independents and the Republicans. That's my plan. That's how I'm going to beat Donald Trump. I'm counting on you. Okay. All right, who we got?
I'm Pat Neville, and I'm from Orange, Mass.
Hi, it's nice to see you, Pat.
I was proud to be there at the beginning at the Scott Brown debate. someone came by. I didn't have a ticket. There were crowds outside of the Springfield courthouse. I don't know what it was. And someone came by and said, I've got 2 extra tickets. Anybody want one? So I said yes.
Hey, it was meant to be. I'm glad you were there.
One of the things on my heart as a Christian is the fact that the whole thing with the refugees and immigrants and children being ripped from their parents. I saw a video of a baby that was crawling away from her mother when she was finally returned because she had no idea that woman was her mother. And I've also been a social worker a lot of my life and am in the ordination process. So all the democratic ideals of the American dream and everything else, but what are your ideas about helping the immigrants and the refugees?
So thank you for the question. And if I can, I just want to start where you are in this. You don't have to be a person of faith to have good values. I grew up in the Methodist church. I was a Sunday school teacher, took my kids to church. But here is how I think of it because of the way I grew up. For me, it's Matthew 25 is the easiest place to see this. Matthew 25, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's one of the parables that Jesus teaches. And the basic parable is separating a shepherd who's separating the goats from the sheep. And just spoiler alert, the goats are going to hell. And it's all a metaphor for who's going to go to heaven and who's going to go to hell. And so when they're separated, the sheep are like, great, okay, I'm glad not to be stuck over with the goats, but why me? Because I look over and I kind of look like one of the goats. I'm not perfect. Why me? And the shepherd, the Lord in this story, says and goes through it, because I was hungry and you fed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was in prison and you visited me. And goes through the list. And a part of that is I was a stranger and you took me in. And the shepherd, the sheep then say, but we didn't see you. We never saw you. We never saw the shepherd who was hungry, who was naked, who was a stranger. And the answer is, inasmuch as ye hath done it unto one of these, the least of thy brethren, ye have done it unto me. And what that says to me is it says a couple of really important things. There is value in every human being. Not just in some of us, not just in the rich ones, not just in the ones we know as neighbors, but every human being has value. And this, yes. And the second is that we are not called on to sit back and simply acknowledge that value. It's not a do no harm. It's that we are called on to act. We are called on to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to visit those in prison, and to welcome the stranger. That is our job as human beings. That is a moral person. I never thought in a million years that I would run for president. I never thought I'd run for any elected office. I came to this very late in life. But I believe that to be a strong nation, we must be a nation that lives our values every day. And that means we must be a nation that does not take children away from their families, that does not treat people with cruelty when they come to our shores. So that's how I see this. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you.
Hi, Senator Warren.
Hi.
My name is Allie. This is my daughter, Summit.
Hi, Summit.
And
Hello.
Hi. Good to see you. Hi, Allie.
hi. Before anything else, I just want to thank you for being a role model for my daughter and for all of our daughters.
Thank you. you.
Summit has a wall of strongness on her bedroom wall, and you're on it.
Oh, that's a good thing to have, Summit.
As a mother, I'm going to echo what was said before me. One of the most painful things happening in our country for me right now is family separation. And one of the hardest things I've done as a mother is bring both of my children to Homestead, Florida last summer to bear witness to the largest for-profit juvenile detention facility in Homestead. And we were witnessing there, and we were asking candidates to come and witness with us. And nobody was available, and everybody was busy because, of course, the debate was going on in Miami. And you were the one candidate who showed up first for us. And you didn't just show up for us and for those kids that were being detained for profit at Caliburns Profit, but you brought the press, and you brought busloads of other people to bear witness, and you put out a viral video about the value of witnessing. And it was a turning point. Suddenly, other candidates who had had no availability became available and also came. And it was that day that I realized that if the other candidates need your leadership, we probably do too.
Oh.
So,
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for that, because I think every please should come with a thank you. And the please is that your trip there was so effective that about a month later, that facility was shut down. And the witnesses who were on the ground working on that issue for months before the candidates were aware of it or able to show up, they're on the border of Brownsville, Texas, and Matamoros, Mexico now. I'm hearing stories from them about mothers sending daughters my daughter's age across the bridge at night because they don't think they'll survive another night in the tent camps in Matamoros, because they've already been assaulted, because their mothers can't bear the thought of it happening again, and they return to their own countries almost certainly facing death and send their children alone at dusk over a bridge to uncertainty here. And you and I know that they're going into detention facilities here. On the other side of the fence in Brownsville, there are sham processes that are supposed to be set up for the legal asylum process. People who've waited up to 9 months are being turned back and sent back over the border back into Mexico. It's all part of Trump's migrant protection protocols, which protect nobody. So I have two asks. One is, what will you as president do to solve the migrant protection protocol problems, to reunite families, to end the humanitarian crisis at the border, and also, will you join the witnesses again? We are having an action on Valentine's Day through President's Day, the 14th through the 17th. It's a love, not hate action centered around Valentine's Day, and we need your presence again, and you've done remarkable work for us, and I'm just asking if you could consider joining us there one more time.
So, thank you. Thank you for the question, Allie. And good to see you again, Summit. Good to see you. So let me do both of these. The second one, I just don't know the schedule, but I will get down there at some point. I don't know if I can do it in this time period. As you know, I've also been to that border as well. I got down in, let me think, we were in McAllen, Texas, which is a bit around, when the word first came out about the separation of families, and it was horrible. I'll just cut right to the center part. I've seen something I never thought I'd see in my life, and certainly never thought I'd see in the United States, and that is cages about the size, just a little bit smaller than this center section, filled with little girls who had been separated from their families. They had nothing. They had no toys. They didn't have pillows. They didn't have anything to play with. They didn't have television. Just little girls sitting hopelessly. And then another cage, and then cages of little boys. Back in the corner, a cage of nursing mothers. Talked with one of the mothers who said she was from Central America, and she said that what she'd done is she'd given a drink of water to a police officer, and the word had come back the next day that the gangs believed she was working with the police, and she knew that that meant she and her baby would be killed. She wrapped her baby up in a blanket and ran for our border. When people come to us seeking help, We have to treat them with dignity and basic respect, not try to do harm to them. That is who we must be. I will close for-profit detention centers and in our prison system. No one should make a profit from locking people up. And just one more part. I will restore and expand aid to Central America. Understand, this problem at our border is in no small part a Trump-made problem. Undercutting aid to that area has meant destabilizing the country. It has put more people at risk, and it has forced more people to flee. We need to have sensible policies that help everyone. And that means support the rule of law and government in Central America so people like the young mother that I was talking about don't feel like they have to wrap up a baby and put their lives in jeopardy to run to the United States. We can do better. We can live our values every day. It will not make us a weaker country. It will make us a stronger country at home and a much stronger country around the world. Thank you, Allie. Thank you. We can do this. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. We're gonna do some more? All right.
We got
Have
four
at it.
more. Four more questions. When I call your number, yell persist and head right over there so you're ready. Okay, here we go. 0524684.
We got it?
Persist.
All right.
Yell persist. Okay. All righty. 0524727.
All right.
go.
Fabulous. Front row.
Head right
Yeah,
over there.
Uh-huh.
Where they're standing with the microphone. Thank you. 0524718.
718. Do we have one? Okay. 718?
Okay. I'm going to just call the last three numbers and yell persist really loud. 712.
Got it? All right.
Is that it? One more. This is the last one. This is the lucky one.
Okay, it's going to be
All
it.
right. So the last three numbers are 715.
All right.
Thank you.
Woo! All right. Good. So we got some more questions.
Hi, I'm Anna.
Hi, Anna.
I live in Vermont, and I go to the same school as Ben, who asked the first question.
Okay.
Climate change is one of the most important troubles and crises that's happening in the world that I've ever heard of or seen, because, I mean, last election in 2016, our biggest problem that was discussed probably the most was the immigrants and all the immigration, and we could be facing like 10 times, like 100 times more than that because of climate change, the sea level rising, people actually losing their home, it being underwater. So how are you going to listen to all the people and give voice to all the youth especially when it comes to climate change?
Okay, so it's a great question. Let's start with just an acknowledgement. Climate change threatens every living thing on our planet. And the thing that scares me the most is every time the scientists go back and collect more data and pump it into their models, it turns out the problem is worse than we thought, and we have less time than we thought. I cannot overstate the urgency of the moment. This is not your climate plan versus my climate plan. We got to move on a lot of fronts, and we got to move fast. So let's talk about just some of them. I've got a lot of climate plans that fit together here. First one, I will do everything, and I love saying this, a president can do all by herself. I've got a whole list, but this will give you a sample. Day one, no new mining or drilling on federal lands, no offshore drilling. That'll help. Oh, and we get rid of a coal lobbyist as the head of the EPA. we've got to think about climate change, not just what we need to do in the United States, but what we need to do globally. I support the Green New Deal, but I also have put together a Blue New Deal. We've got to protect our oceans. Now, how are we going to deal with this problem? I'm going to say something that is very controversial down in Washington, but I feel safe here in New Hampshire, able to say this. I believe in science. How are we going to deal with climate change? I'll tell you how we're going to deal with it. I want to go tenfold increase in our investment in basic science, in research and development, in application. We need to do what we do best as Americans. We need to innovate out of this problem. And then, like I said, think of this as a worldwide problem and think of it as a worldwide opportunity. Right now, the best estimate is that we've got an upcoming $27 trillion market for green energy production, cleaning carbon out of the air and the water, desalinization, and much of what is needed is not yet invented or not efficient enough yet in application. So here's my plan. We make the investment as American taxpayers in the research and development. This is what we do best. And then we say, build whatever comes out of this science. Build it as quickly as you can, but here's the deal. You got to build it right here in the United States of America. Taxpayers pay for the research. Taxpayers are going to get the jobs. The best estimate is it will be over 1 million new jobs in manufacturing, good union jobs. That's how we build a climate future. A green manufacturing plan. Couple of more pieces. Climate justice has to be at the heart of what we talk about. For a long, long time now, we have located toxic waste dumps, polluting factories next to communities of color. It has had a measurable impact on the health of children, a measurable impact on the health of seniors and other vulnerable populations, and it has helped destroy the value of that property. One of my commitments as president is that as we undertake a huge climate initiative, we leave no community behind. We fix the problems we created for decades. There's so much more to this. I really hope you take a look. ElizabethWarren.com. I've got lots of pieces on climate. Talking about how farmers can be in the lead on this, sustainable farming, how we can make this possible. Many pieces, but there's one more piece I want you to understand. I was talking earlier about corruption. Understand this. Anyone who comes to you and talks about, I'm going to be the climate candidate, and doesn't talk about how they're going to attack the corruption, the influence of money in Washington, is not going to get anything done. Oh, we'll get some bills passed that'll have great names, solved all problems forever. But so long as the oil industry is still calling the shots, so long as the big polluters are still calling the shots in Washington, we are not going to tackle this problem with the seriousness it deserves. And a second piece of this is the filibuster. If Mitch McConnell is going to use the filibuster against me the same way he used it against President Obama, to block, then I am willing to say it is time to get rid of the filibuster. We do the people's business. So the urgency of this moment demands that we have good, meaningful climate plans. We got a lot of places where we can go, where we really have a chance to fight back. But it also means that we've got a good plan to get those plans enacted, and that's why I'm here. We got to do this. Thank you. Thank you. Great question. Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Tell me.
My name is. Hi.
Go ahead. It's okay.
My My name is Elizabeth Rocha Boyd.
Your name is Elizabeth also?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow! Double Elizabeths. I feel the power. This is great. Okay.
I'm 7 years old.
I'm not.
Tell her what you wanted to know. I wanted to know if if you're going to close the camps. The camps.
The camps where the children are held?
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yes. I will, Elizabeth. Thank you. Thank you. You know, I want to say one more quick thing. People ask me, you've got these great plans, lots of plans. How are you going to get them done? And part of it is to talk about the things I was just talking about. We beat back the influence of money. We pass anti-corruption legislation, which, by the way, Democrats and Republicans, not the ones in Washington, but the voters, actually think is a good idea. Take on the filibuster so that we don't have a veto. But the real heart of it is Elizabeth. It's Elizabeth, it's Allie, it's all of you. It's the people who keep raising the issues that are important issues, who show up, who knock on doors, who make phone calls because you're fighting for what you believe in. That is how we're going to make real change in this country. So thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. I'm glad you're in this fight. Hi.
Hello. So, talking to Elizabeth Warren wasn't on today's agenda. So, quick question. Once we defeat Trump in 2020.
Oh, let's just stop there.
Because we're gonna do it. I have confidence
we're gonna
that
do
we're
it.
gonna do it.
We're gonna do it.
I have a lot of fears around all of the conservative judges that have been pushed through and what that's going to mean long term for everybody, no matter how you identify. And I would just like to hear a little bit about what your plan is to deal with the long-term consequences of those judges.
Okay, so this is a really, really good question. Let me give you a few thoughts. And actually, if I can, let me just set the table for a minute for any of you who don't follow this super closely. The judges that have been confirmed in the last 3 years collectively are appalling. Judges are confirmed who have written records or video, have said at conferences and been caught on video, saying things that are racist, that are sexist, that are homophobic, that are anti-Muslim, and a real favorite on that group is an anti-voter. Anything to help suppress the vote. These are people, I'm not just saying, you know, there's kind of, okay, George W. Bush and Barack Obama didn't appoint quite the same kind of judges, but I'm telling you, the people who are coming through are often rated, or some of them are rated unqualified. They would have been unthinkable in the George W. Bush administration. People who had records like that on what they said about women, what they said about race, what they said about the LGBTQ community, what they said about people's religion. So we have a real problem. I'm completely agreeing with you on this. So now what are we going to do? And I think the answer is twofold. The first is the reminder, and not all Democratic presidents have been really good at this, the importance of filling those judicial slots, whatever ones are open, getting them filled immediately, and getting them filled with people who are committed to rule of law. It is not about making our courts more political on the other side. It is about making sure that we restore the whole notion that you go in front of a judge and you can expect a well-informed, neutral arbiter. And that's what I will do. I will be in that fight. There's one other thing I want to say about our courts, because we've had problems in our courts, have been growing for a long time, even before Donald Trump got here. It wasn't the problem of nominating the racists. That's been a Donald Trump special. It's a different problem. The problem has been how narrow their legal experiences and often their life experiences have been. How many, and this has been happening for a long time, how many of those judges come from backgrounds, come from legal experiences where money was no object. They were either in big law firms or they were doing often big federal prosecution, where it's not the same as what it means to run a small practice, to do labor side work, for example, to represent people, workers, represent victims, people who have been run over. And if we have too many people coming from one perspective, it builds a tilt into the courts. So a piece for me is people who are absolutely committed to rule of law, but also who bring the human part of the judgment, of having seen a lot of different human beings, having lived and worked through the legal system where $5,000 is a whole lot of money and it matters to someone, and who think through their decisions in terms of real people who are profoundly affected by our laws. So that's going to be another big part of it. Okay? Good. Good. Thank you. Thank you. It's a great question.
Hi, Elizabeth. My name's Susan Tochterman.
Hi, Susan.
Thanks for coming to Keene.
Oh, it's good to be in Keene again. And I love this theater. It's fun to be here.
It's been frustrating for me just seeing the power that Mitch McConnell has but now that some bills are coming up through the House of Representatives and they're just sitting in the Senate.
Yep.
As a Democratic president, what do you do?
So the first thing we do is we run on big ideas. We take back the Senate and we put Mitch McConnell out of a job. Yes. You know, this is where we started the first question when I was talking about it. Know how to fight and I know how to win. Understand what I'm fighting for. Yeah, I'm fighting to win the White House. That is our number one job. But right behind it is we got to win up and down the ticket, because the way we make change in this country, we take back the Senate, we expand our lead in the House, we get more seats in the state legislatures. That's how we're going to make real change in this country. And to do that, we have to get out and fight. We have to get out and fight with courage. We have to show the American people not just what's wrong with Trump. We have to show them what we as Democrats are fighting for, that we want a government that doesn't just work for the rich and the powerful, that we want a government where everybody is required to pay a fair share. I didn't get to talk about it, but I'm going to say it anyway. 2-cent wealth tax. It's time. We want a government that invests in our future, and the best way to invest in our future is to invest in our children. We do a 2-cent wealth tax, and we can do universal child care for every baby in this country age 0 to 5. We can do universal pre-K for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old in America. And we can stop exploiting the people who do this work. We can raise the wages of every child care worker and preschool teacher in America. We can put $800 billion, new federal dollars, into our public schools. Think what that would mean. Quadruple funding for Title I schools. And for a special education teacher, for the first time in American history, we could fully fund IDEA. Every child with a disability would get the education they deserve. We could make technical school, 2-year college, 4-year college, and yes, Keene State, I'm looking at you, tuition free. We could help level the playing field and put $50 billion into our historically black colleges and universities. 2 cents. then we'd have enough money left over to cancel student loan debt for 43 million Americans. Now, I say this as the answer to your question by way of saying, look what we can do. Look what we can do. We can leave that 2 cents with the top 0.1% in America. The people whose fortunes right now have their own money managers and their own PR firms who are growing those fortunes at what? 6%, 8%, 10% a year. They're still going to grow their fortunes. I'm just saying 2%. Pitch that in, and we can invest in an entire generation of young Americans, an entire generation. And here's the thing. Take just childcare. Just childcare, universal childcare and early childhood education. Even if you don't have kids, even if you don't have grandkids, even if you don't like kids, you should like this proposal. And you know why? Because it's good for all of us. It's good for our whole economy. We have lived in an America for 40 years now of trickle-down economics. And we have to admit, trickle-down economics is a monumental failure for America. Trickle-down economics is nothing more than the rich and the powerful get richer and more powerful, and that is exactly what is done. They get richer because they pay less and less in taxes, and they get more powerful because they spend some of that money to lobby Washington to cut the regulations. We turn that around with universal child care, because when we ask the millionaires and billionaires to invest that 2 cents and we provide universal child care, what we've got at that moment, think about it. We've got mamas who can finish their educations. That is a good thing for our economy, right? We've got mamas and daddies who can go to work, right? Who can take a swing shift and know that the baby is going to be well taken care of. We've got child care workers right here in Keene. More child care workers who will get paid more. And do you know what all three of those things mean? Mamas who finish their educations and take jobs, daddies who can take jobs, child care workers who get paid more. That's money to spend right here. That's more pizzas, that's more cars, that's saving up money to buy a house. That's more investment in this local economy. It's about building an economy, not trickle down. It's about an economy that we build from the grassroots up. That's what we need in America. We run on that. We show that vision. We talk to people about how their lives would change. Just let them try it on. The idea of what it would mean, that you would have a good, safe place, a good place to be able to have your baby go. Good public education, that every child in this country make that national statement, that education is not just a local responsibility. It is not just a state responsibility. It is a national opportunity for building our best America. We make that investment in public education. That's how we build a strong future. And we shake off this damn student loan debt, and we get people back in the economy. People who are paying $600, $800, $1,000 a month. People who can't start their own businesses. People who can't move back to small towns because they're caught in the vice of student loan debt that is crushing them and crushing their future. 2 cents that we ask the billionaires and millionaires to pitch in. And we change this country. We change this economy. We change this America to be one that works, not just for the rich and the powerful. It works for everyone. We get that out there. That's how we're going to beat Donald Trump. Want to do that? Is that a good answer?
So this will be our last question.
Last question. I kind of wound up on that like it was. Okay. Yes.
Well, thank you, Senator, because my next question is in regards to taxes.
Uh-huh.
First of all, I want to thank you for your energy and your being so persistent.
I am persistent.
So,
Mitch McConnell has noticed that.
my name is Judy,
Hi, Judy.
and I am retired. My husband has a couple more years to go, and for years we worked really hard, paid our fair share of taxes,
Yep.
you know, eked into the middle class. Now, as a retiree, I am helping my daughter raise her 4 children.
Yep.
And while I think that the wealth tax is just, the 2 cents is just awesome, what I'd like to know and hear from you is your thoughts on helping the middle class with the current tax laws that are in existence now.
Yeah.
People shouldn't have to be paying their take-home pay as an equivalent for tax each year.
Yeah.
So what can you do to help us poor pensioners, and what can you help to do with the revise the current
Good.
tax laws?
So it's a great question, and let me give you a couple of answers to this, okay? Because all these pieces tie together. These are all pieces about corruption. I mean, do you ever think about this? Why is it in a democracy, right? It's supposed to be what the majority of people want. Why is it in a democracy that you paid your taxes last year, right? I'm assuming, right? I don't want to out you here if that's not right, but, right? Just nod, right? Go along with it, right? You paid your taxes last year. You know, I mentioned my 3 brothers. They talk about how they pay their taxes every year, but here's the deal. Amazon, Eli Lilly, Halliburton, it's a long list. You know what they have in common? They reported billions, that's with a B, billions of dollars in profits just last year, and paid in taxes how much? 0. That is corruption. Because understand this, when I talk to my brothers about this, 1 Democrat, 2 Republicans, when I talk to them about this, they said, wait a minute, that's just not right. We're getting the short end of the stick over and over because somebody has to keep this country running. Somebody has to make sure that the roads are paved and the bridges don't fall down. Somebody has to make sure that we provide for the defense. And these giant corporations and the billionaires are shoving that off on everyone else. My 2-cent wealth tax, oh, the billionaires have gone on TV and cried about it, boo-hoo, right? Some have run for president. Understand this, the 99% in America last year paid about 7.2% of your total wealth in taxes. That top 0.1% that I wanted to kick in an extra 2 cents, they paid 3.2%, less than half of what you're paying. We're just looking for some basic fairness on taxes. So you're not going to be surprised to hear the things I'm doing have no tax increases for America's middle class. They say those at the top have got to pay more so that we can invest more in this country and build opportunity for everyone. I mean, that's the basic overall picture for doing this. And if I can, let me talk specifically about Social Security and weave into that disability insurance as well. Hardworking people have been paying their Social Security for everywhere. This is not a handout. This is something people pay into. It's an insurance program. But you're going to be shocked to hear this. The rich have figured out how to game the system. So you pay because you get a paycheck and they take it right off the top. You got nothing to do. I mean, there's just nothing to do with Social Security. It comes right off the top, right? For rich people, they figured out how to do things like create subchapter S corporations. So they stop paying Social Security on big hunks of their income. And the consequence has been it has pushed the Social Security trust fund closer and closer to the edge. You keep hearing about how Social Security is going to run out of money somewhere in the mid-20s. The reason for that is, in part, when we built Social Security, we kept readjusting Social Security every few years. We did it about 38 times between the mid-1930s and the late 1980s because people lived longer, women went to work, new professions were covered. So you just keep making actuarial adjustments. They're small adjustments, but they keep the system solvent. And then the Republicans said at the end of the 1980s, we're done. We want to be able to choke this off. And so they made no adjustments. And what happens over time, that little bit of a difference puts the Social Security system under squeeze. So here's what I plan to do for you and for everyone else. It starts with a statement of our values. After a lifetime of hard work, people are entitled to retire with dignity. And that means protecting and expanding Social Security, and I got a plan for that. The plan is to say people in the top 2% are actually going to have to pony up and cover more of their income is going to be subject to Social Security tax. That gives us enough money to increase the Social Security payment, the check, monthly check, for every single person who receives Social Security or disability by $200 a month. We can lift people out of poverty. We can help on the budgets for millions more. We'll lift about 4.5 million people out of poverty by doing that. But most of all, it fits in with every other part of this. We will work on an economy and on a democracy that isn't just working for those who hire the lobbyists and get the exceptions and all the little pieces, that we hold our government accountable and we make it work for everyone. That's what we've got a chance to do in 2020. Thank you. It's a great question. Great question. So thank you. You all have been great. Let's wrap this up. I want to wrap this up by telling you a story. I want to tell you a story about a toaster. You did not see that coming. When I was a young mom, toasters could set houses on fire. The way it worked, you know those little toaster ovens, you know, where the tray pulls out? They didn't used to have automatic shutoff switches. So the consequence was that you could put 4 slices of bread in, flick the toaster on, hear the baby cry, run down to the other end of the house, be gone a little longer than you thought you were, and when you came back, the flames would be leaping off the toast by about 6 to 8 inches, catch the kitchen curtains on fire, then the cabinets. Ask me how I know. I will confess to nothing except to say one year my daddy got so upset about this, he finally bought me a fire extinguisher for Christmas. So here's the deal. A federal agency came along and it said, enough. We're not going to sell toasters anymore in America that can burn down people's houses. And that was it. They put safety switches on the toasters, and now toasters don't burn down houses. By the early 2000s in America, home mortgages had gotten so complex and so dangerous, they had a 1 in 5 chance of costing a family their home through foreclosure. Only this time, the federal government was not on the side of the people. It was deep in the pocket of the banks. And it said, keep selling those things. Man, that's how you're making profits. And that's what they did right up until they crashed the economy in 2008 and had to be bailed out. So I said, right after this, I'm not in elected office. It's time for an agency like the Toaster Agency. Only this agency is going to say you can't build your profits by cheating people on mortgages and credit cards and payday loans and student loans. And like I said, I'm not an elected official, so what I do is I go down to Washington and I basically just knock on doors. And knock on doors, Republican, Democrat, I don't care. Anybody who'll listen to me, and I pitch them on the idea for this agency. We're starting to talk about financial reform. I said, try out my agency idea. And I realize I'm getting the same 2 answers from pretty much everyone. Answer number 1 is, that's a good idea. It can make a real difference. Structural change. And the second part to the answer is, don't even try. The big banks will oppose it, Wall Street will oppose it, all of the Republicans will oppose it, and half the Democrats will oppose it. You will never get it done. I get it. Big structural change is hard. But it was the right thing to do. So we got in the fight, we took on big money, we took on Wall Street, we took on the Republicans, and in 2010, Barack Obama signed that agency into law. We won. We can win. We won, and that little agency has already forced the banks to return more than $12 billion directly to people they cheated. That's government that works for the people. That's what we can do together. And now it has been 3 years with Donald Trump. 3 years. And people are afraid. You heard it in these questions. People are afraid for their families. They're afraid for their neighbors. They're afraid for the children who are locked up in detention centers at our borders. They're afraid for children in lockdowns in our public schools. They are afraid for women, for people of color, for LGBTQ people, for trans people, all of whose rights are going to be up for grabs in this United States Supreme Court. They are afraid for our nation, and they are afraid for our planet. And the danger is real. Our democracy hangs in the balance. At a time like this, we can cower, we can pull back, or we can fight back. I'm in this because I'm fighting back. I am fighting back. Yep. Fighting back is an act of patriotism. We fought back against a king to build this nation. We fought back against the scourge of slavery to save our union. We fought back against a Great Depression to rebuild our economy. And we fought back against fascism to protect our democracy. Understand, this is what Americans do best. We see a problem, a big problem, and we come up with an even bigger solution, and we fight for it. This is no time for small ideas. This is no time to nibble around the edges of these big problems. This is a time to face our problems head on and to offer the big structural change it will take to fix them. I'm not running a campaign that was carefully shaped by a bunch of consultants. You've probably noticed. I am not running a campaign with a bunch of proposals that are carefully designed not to offend big donors. I passed that stop sign a long time ago. I am running a campaign based on a lifetime of fighting for working people. I am running a campaign from the heart because I believe that 2020 is our moment in history. I believe that 2020, the door has opened for real change. I believe that 2020 is not about going backwards, that 2020 is about going forward and building the America where every person has value, where opportunity is real, building the America of a future that opens up instead of closes up for so many millions of people. I believe in that America. And if you believe in that America, then I'm asking you, get in this fight. I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking you to volunteer. I'm asking you to make phone calls, knock on doors, talk to people who are standing in line in front of you at the grocery store. I'm asking you to go to ElizabethWarren.com and find a place near you where you can be part of this. I'm asking you to pitch in $5, but most of all, I am asking you to get in this fight. This moment in history will not come our way again. This is the moment we have been called to. This is the moment to dream big, fight hard, and win.
What you want, baby, I got it.
course, for selfies. We are going to do the folks on the stage first. Everybody else, if you could line up down this aisle over here, right where Nairobi is, right here. Folks, if you're in the, yes. Folks, if you're in the ADA section, we will come to you. And remember, if you have a baby or a small child, please come right on up to the front, just like pre-boarding. We would love to get your photos done so you can get on home. Right down on this side.